Hi friends, today we are going to discuss the lymphoid organs. Already we discussed the structure and functions of the primary lymphoid organs. Now we are going to discuss the secondary lymphoid organs. As we know, the discrimination in between the primary and the secondary lymphoid organs is primary lymphoid organs, namely bone marrow, bursa fabriceus and the thymus gland. They play a major role in the proliferation of the pluripotent stem cells and maturation of the lymphocytes and for the clonal selection of the matured lymphocytes. Where in the case of secondary lymphoid organs, namely spleen, lymph nodes and the lymphoid associated tissues, they play a major role in the activation of the naive B cells or the naive T cells and followed by the proliferation of the specified B lymphocytes and finally they meant for the clonal expansion. This indicates that the secondary lymphoid organs, they provide a particular environment where the lymphocytes and the antigens, they expose to each other, and that leads to the activation of the T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes and finally the clonal expansion and eradicate the antigens, otherwise the pathogenic organisms. There are three kinds of secondary lymphoid organs are there, namely spleen, lymph nodes and the lymphoid associated tissues. Let us discuss one by one. First one is the spleen. Spleen is a ovoidal organ which is located at the upper left of the diaphragm and we will see just beside the stomach. And the spleen is commonly called as the graveyard of RBC, where the lifetime of the RBC in the human beings is 120 days. After 120 days, they undergo for the programmed cell death. And all the died cells, died RBC, they enter into the spleen where they entrap and they will be phagocytized by the follicular dendritic cells and as well as the other macrophages. Now, it is a ovoidal organ, capsulated ovoidal organ, just present in the abdominal cavity at the uppermost region of the left side abdominal cavity, just near to the diaphragm. Now, the entire spleen covered by a thick membrane which is called as the capsule, and the main aim of the spleen, it filters the blood. That indicates that it entraps the blood-borne antigens and also separates the died RBC from the blood. Now, this spleen covered by a thick membrane which is called as the capsule. This capsule, here and there, it is interiorly protruded and forms the small cytoplasmic projections like trabeculae. The capsule going inside and form the cytoplasmic trabeculae. And in the TS of the spleen, we will observe that a splenic artery, red color, a splenic artery entered into the spleen and bifurcated into the small arterioles. Now, this spleen gets divided into two regions. The red region is called as the red pulp and the white region is called as the white pulp. red pulp and the white pulp. Both the red pulp and white pulp, they are combined together with the marginal zone. That is, marginal zone is the region where the red pulp and as well as the white pulp, they fuse together. And if you discriminate the components of the red pulp and the white pulp, in the red pulp we will see small cyanoids, and the cyanoids, they meant for the filtration, and also will observe the venules at the here the red color is representing the RBC, dyed RBC, and also the some sort of less amount of lymphocytes along with the dendritic cells. That is, red pulp comprises RBC and the macrophages, less number of lymphocytes, whereas the white pulp that represents the, here we will observe the large artery enters into the spleen, which is called as the splenic artery, and it is divided into small branches which are called as the arterioles. Arterioles surrounded by PALS, pulse, periarteriolar lymphoid sheath, where we will observe more and more number of, huge number of lymphocytes. That is, red pulp is enriched with the RBC, dendritic cells at the sinusoids, whereas the white pulp, it comprises the PALS, periarteriolar lymphoid sheath, which contain more number of lymphocytes. Now, here see in the section, in the slide we will see, this is entire, it is the central artery, and here it is red pulp, and this is the white pulp, where both of them they fuse together, that is called as the marginal zone. If you observe the ultrastructure of the spleen section, now we will see this is the spleen supplied by the splenic artery, and this entire, it is a capsule, and this capsule protruded inside and forms the cytoplasmic strand-like structures which are called as the trabeculae. And here we will see two types of pulps. One is the red pulp, another one is the white pulp. And red pulp, as we know, it is enriched with the sinusoids and as well as the RBC. Whereas the white pulp, we will see the arterioles and the PALS, periarteriolar lymphoid sheath, where we will find out more number of lymphocytes within the periarteriolar region. Now, this is the marginal zone. The zone, the junction of the white pulp and the red pulp is the marginal zone. Within the PALS, there are the developing lymphocytes in the form of a primary follicle. So now, what is the function of the spleen? It is a filtering organ of the blood. It filters the entire blood and separates the RBC and as well as the blood-borne antigens. Now, the primary follicles are the clusters of T lymphocytes, where this is the spleen is the secondary lymphoid organ. It provides, entraps the antigens and provides the antigens for the exposure of the naive T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Now, as and when there is a interaction in between the lymphocytes of the primary follicle and as well as the antigens, now the antigens activates the lymphocytes. These activated lymphocytes, they convert into secondary follicles. What is the difference in between primary follicle cells and the secondary follicle cells is, primary follicle contain all the naive T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, whereas the secondary follicle contain activated T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes along with the germinal center. What is the germinal center is, germinal center, here at the centrum we will see many number of B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes which are undergoing rapid divisions, and at the peripheral region we will see the small newborn lymphocytes, and all of them they are present in the both the T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes, both of them they are present in the PALS region only. Now, the cells which were formed from the B lymphocytes, that is from the germinal centers, they slowly exit out from the spleen and that enters into the circulation again. Now, here we will see the number of lymphocytes which were forming within the germinal centers. They slowly exit out from the spleen and enter into the circulatory system. That indicates that whenever we consider the spleen as the secondary lymphoid organ, it has to interrupt the antigens, and the antigens, they come to the lymphocytes and contact with the lymphocytes, activates the lymphocytes. Thereby, the mature B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, they get activated. These activated lymphocytes, finally, they confine to create or produce some sort of cellular components. If it is a B lymphocyte, the normal B lymphocyte, mature B lymphocytes, as and when it comes in contact with the antigen, it get activated. These activated B lymphocytes, they form the plasma cells. These plasma cells, they secrete antibodies against to the specific antigen. If it is the T lymphocyte, whenever the T lymphocytes exposed to the specific antigens, they also get activated. Activated T lymphocytes, they converted into either the cytotoxic T lymphocytes, they are the CTL, or the T helper cells. Cytotoxic T lymphocytes, they proliferate and kill the antigen directly. If it is the T helper cell, the T helper cells, they recognize the antigen peptide, otherwise antigen fragment, epitopes, as and when there are the macrophages or dendritic cells with the appropriate MHC molecules, and thereby they get activated. In turn, they activate the B lymphocytes and thereby they produce the antibodies. Anyhow, the spleen as the secondary lymphoid organ provides, entraps the antigen, provides to the T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, and thereby they get activated, proliferated, and their clonal expansion takes place, and they are ready to leave the spleen and they go for the appropriate immune responses. So this is all about the spleen as the secondary lymphoid organs. And some of the times we will also observe there are the clinical manifestations like the splenomegaly. As and when the amount of the antigens, if they are more, if they are toxic to the spleen, then thereby the size of the spleen that enhanced rather than the normal size, the enlargement of the spleen is a pathological manifestation which is commonly called as a splenomegaly. And by observing the overall mechanism which is situated in the spleen, thereby we consider the spleen as the monomolecular phagocytic system. Monomolecular phagocytic system. This is all about the spleen. Then coming to the next secondary lymphoid organ, that is the lymph nodes. So the entire body is distributed with the, contain the distribution of the lymphatic system, where we will find out the lymph which travels through the, carried forward to the lymphatic vessels, and here and there we will also see some sort of nodule like structure here and there in the lymphatic system. They are called as the lymph nodes. These lymph nodes are ovoidal in structure and present all over the body in between the lymphatic vessels as the junctions, and these work like the, act like the secondary lymphoid organs. What is the main aim of the secondary lymphoid organs? Whether it is the spleen or the lymph node, that is, they have to entrap the antigen, filter the antigen, and thereby the antigen should be focused towards the lymphocyte. That is, there will be a correlation, otherwise there will be a interaction in between. The secondary lymphoid organs facilitates the interaction in between the lymphocytes and the antigens. So the same function done by the lymphocytes. So there are huge number of lymphocytes or lymph nodes are there, and in this lymph node, whenever we see the spleen, it is the filtration organ of the blood. It filtrates the blood-borne antigens. Whereas the antigens which are present in the lymph, that is the extracellular fluid, that will be captured by, entrapped by the lymph nodes. Now we will see the lymph which is present in the interstitial spaces, then that is carried into the lymph node through the afferent lymphatic vessels. This is the incoming lymph vessel, that is afferent lymphatic vessels, which allows the inward movement of the incoming of the lymph from the interstitial spaces, interstitial regions. Now, as to that of the lymphoid organs, this lymph node also encapsulated by a thick membrane. The entire white line represents the capsule around the lymph node. Now, here there is a inhalent channel, that is where the lymph incomes to the lymph coming into the lymph node. Whereas there is a outgoing channel where through a lymph vessel, this is the incoming channel is called as the afferent lymph vessel, afferent lymphatic vessel, and this is the efferent, outgoing channel is the efferent lymphatic vessel. That is the lymph which is present in the interstitial region, that is entering into this lymph node through the afferent lymphatic vessel and exit out from the lymph node through the efferent lymphatic vessel. So whenever it is entering to the lymph node, here also we will see there are the three different regions in the section of the lymph node. That is, whenever the lymph enters into the lymph node, it percolates through the three regions, special regions. The outermost layer, which represented by the blue color and the yellow color, that is the cortical region or cortex, external cortex. And at the centrum we will see light red color region, that is the medulla. And in between the cortex and the medulla, we will also observe a ash color region which represented by the paracortex. That is, in the section of the lymph node, we will observe three regions. External region is the cortex, middle region is the paracortex, and internal region is the medulla. Now, in the cortical region, there is every possibility of enrichment of the B lymphocytes. More number of B lymphocytes along with the macrophage and follicular dendritic cells are present in the cortical region, and the paracortical region contains more number of the T lymphocytes along with the dendritic cells and the macrophages. Now, in the cortical region, we will see small primary follicles and the secondary follicles with the germinal center. Just now we discussed the primary and the secondary follicles. Primary follicles always contain mature B lymphocytes, and the secondary follicles, they contain activated B lymphocytes. That is, the cells which are present in the primary follicle, they get activated as and when they expose to the particular antigen, they get activated and form the secondary follicle and with the germinal center. At the centrum of the germinal center, we will see the rapidly dividing B lymphocytes, and just they are surrounded by the small newly born B lymphocytes. Now, in the paracortical region, we will see T lymphocytes. As and when they expose to the antigen, they get activated and they modify into active T lymphocytes. They are the CTL, cytotoxic T lymphocytes, and as well as the T helper cells. Now, all the activated cells, that is the plasma cells, which are responsible for the production of the antibodies, and the cytotoxic T lymphocytes along with the T helper cells, all of them, they finally reach the medullary region. Now here we will see an interesting thing, that is, here it is a filtration organ of the lymph where it filters the antigens and lymphocytes. Now the number of lymphocytes which are present in the incoming fluid, if you compare the number of the incoming fluid to that of the outgoing fluid, there is a 50-fold increase in the lymphocyte count in between the incoming fluid and the outgoing fluid. That is, incoming fluid contain some X number of lymphocytes and the outgoing fluid contains 50x, 50-fold to that of the incoming lymphocytes. How such a drastic increase takes place in the number of TRB lymphocytes, lymphocytic population? There are two basic regions. Number one reason is there are two reasons. Number one reason is as and when the lymphocytes enter into the lymph node, slowly percolates through the cortex, paracortex and the medulla. In the cortical region, they encounter the antigen, thereby antigen activates the lymphocytes, and now these activated lymphocytes, they undergo rapid divisions and they form some amount of lymphocytes. Thereby, there will be a gradual increase in the count of the lymphocytes. That is the one reason. And the second reason is, as and when there is a antigen stimulation towards the lymphocytes, the cells which are present in the bloodstream, the lymphocytes which are present in the bloodstream, they slowly enters through the veins, and here it is a lymphatic vein which enters into the medullary region and slowly towards the paracortical region, towards the cortical region. Here we will see the entire venules. There is a capillarization of the venules of the lymphatic vein. These venules are contained, the venule walls are containing endothelial cells. These endothelial cells somewhat thick. They are somewhat thick. These endothelial cells responsible for, otherwise the wall of the veins which is made up of the thick endothelial cells, that is responsible for the extravasation of the lymphocytes which are present in the bloodstream. Through the extravasation, they enter into the lymph node. This is the second reason. As and when there is a antigenic stimulation, the lymphocytes which are present in the veins, they migrate towards the high endothelial venules. They are called as HEV, high endothelial venules, which are very thick. And through these thick walls of the venules, they migrate from venules, inside of the venules, to the cortical regions, otherwise the internal region of the lymph node. Now, this also facilitates the enhancement of the number of the lymphocytes. That is, we will see there is a drastic migration of the lymphocytes from the HEV as and when there is a antigenic stimulation to that of the lymphocyte. This also gives, otherwise this also, that is, one is the antigenic stimulation that leads to the rapid divisions of the T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, that facilitates the enhancement of the T lymphocytes, and the second one is due to the extravasation of the lymphocytes from inside of the high endothelial venules towards the lymph node, internal side of the lymph node. That also facilitates the enhancement of the number of the lymphocytes. That indicates that there is a 5-fold increase of the lymphocytes when compared to the incoming lymphatic vessel and towards the outgoing lymphoid vessels. That is, the lymphocytes are very less whenever they are entering into the lymph node, and there is a tremendous increase in the lymphocytic population when they are going outside. Here also we will see the ultrastructure of the lymph node. This is the capsule, and there are the trabeculae, and also we will see the cortical, paracortical, and as well as the medullary regions. So these are the HEV, high endothelial venules, which facilitates the extravasation of the lymphocytes into the lymph node. So this is the lymph node also filters the lymph, entraps the antigens, and contribute these antigens to the lymphocytes for their earlier encounter of the antigens, thereby they get activates, and finally activation of T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes takes place, and there will be a clonal expansion, and finally they release out into the bloodstream. Now see the third type of tissues which are considered to be as secondary lymphoid organs. Already we know that, as we know, the lymphatic system may be represented in the body as in the form of cells and the tissues and as well as the encapsulated organs. Here there are tissues. If you observe the associated lymphoid tissues, and what is the main function? Again, it is entrapping the antigens and providing the antigens to the lymphocytes for their exposure of the antigens. Now here we will see various kinds of lymphoid tissues where we will observe the MALT, mucus associated lymphoid tissues. Mucus associated lymphoid tissues present all over the body in various systems like the respiratory system, circulatory system, alimentary canal, that is the digestive system, and also some of the visceral organs. That is, most of the organs internally lined with the mucous membrane, and these mucous membranes contain clusters of lymphocytes in the primitive level. Now, if you observe the spectrum of the mucous tissue, if you measure the entire mucous tissue of respiratory system, digestive system and the urinogenital system, the entire measurement maybe is equal to 400 meter squares. That is almost all equal to it is 400 meter square. It is almost all equal to a basketball ground. Now, mucus associated lymphoid tissue, if it is present, that is commonly called as the MALT. If it is associated with the alimentary canal, then that is called as the GALT, gut associated lymphoid tissues. And if it is associated with the respiratory system, that is the BALT, bronchus associated lymphoid tissue. If it is furthermore associated with the skin, that is called as a cutaneous associated lymphoid tissue. That is, the mucus associated lymphoid tissue not only found in the alimentary canal but also found in the respiratory tract and also in the urinogenital tract and also in the skin. So based upon the organ where actually they found, based upon that we have given a name like the MALT, GALT, BALT and the CALT. We will see the MALT, mucus associated lymphoid tissue. It may be found, for example, if it is the alimentary canal. In the alimentary canal, we will find out the MALT, mucus associated lymphoid tissues, in the form of adenoids and the tonsils, and also we will see there are the lamina propria. If we observe the microvilli, here and there we will see clusters of the lymphoid tissues, lymphoid cells in the lamina propria of the microvilli. And also we will observe the Peyer's patches in the small intestinal wall. It is also highly developed lymphoid tissue. That is, the basic clusters of the lymphoid tissue is in the form of lamina propria, whereas highly developed lymphoid tissue is in the form of Peyer's patches. That is, there is a wide range of the distribution of the lymphoid tissues, right from the normal clusters of the lamina propria of the microvilli and towards the large, highly specified tissues like the Peyer's patches of the lining of the small intestine. Now, we will also observe here there are the Peyer's patches and as well as the lamina propria. This is MALT. And see, here it is a Peyer's patch. This is the small intestinal lining and where it is containing B lymphocytes and as well as the other lymphocytes. Here the dendritic cells, and here we will see the lamina propria represented by the pink structure, pink area. So this is all about the malt and the gut. So gut, it is somewhat related to the alimentary canal. And this is the section of the slide of the Peyer's patches. Here it is the Peyer's patch. Then these are the associated lymphoid tissues in the form of adenoids and tonsils. This is the tonsil and these are the adenoids. And tonsil and the adenoids. And the appendix also considered to be as the associated lymphoid tissue, where it contains many number of lymphocytes along with the lymphoid follicles. See, this is the appendix. And this is the associated lymphoid tissue of the respiratory system, that is BALT, bronchus associated lymphoid tissue. The mucous layer of the lungs and the respiratory tract, that is bronchus, that is enriched with the lymphocytes, clusters of the lymphocytes, that is the BALT. That is malt. If it is present in the gut, gut associated lymphoid tissue, GALT. If it is present in the respiratory system, it is the BALT. And if you observe the clusters of the lymphocytes in the skin associated lymphoid tissue or cutaneous associated lymphoid tissue. Here we will see various cells. There are keratinocytes which meant for the protection of the skin. As usually, skin is a anatomical barrier for the prohibition of entry of microorganisms. And now keratinocytes are present, and the special type of dendritic cells which are called as the Langerhans dendritic cells are there. And there are furthermore special kind of lymphocytes which are intraepidermal lymphocytes, which acts like the T lymphocytes and ban the entry of the various microorganisms. They prohibit the entry of the microorganisms. Now here we will see intradigital dendritic cells and the lymphocytes and the keratinocytes. Keratinocytes, Langerhans cells and the intradigital dendritic cells along with the lymphocytes. So these all are the cells which are responsible to prevent the entry of microorganisms through the skin. So this is about the CALT, cutaneous associated lymphoid tissue. Now we have learnt until now about the various secondary lymphoid organs like the spleen, lymph node and the associated lymphoid tissues, their structures and the main function of the secondary lymphoid organs, where either they entrap the lymph or they entrap the antigens from the lymph, entrap the antigens from the blood, that is blood-brain antigens, and also they entrap the antigens at various regions of the respiratory system, alimentary canal, that is the gut, digestive system, and also the various regions of the alimentary canal like the microvilli and the lining of the small intestine, adenoids and the tonsils, appendix, like that. Thereby the secondary lymphoid organs, they have to filter the body fluids, entrap the antigens, provide or contribute these antigens to the lymphocytes, and finally there will be activation of the lymphocytes as and when there is a antigenic stimulation, and finally they modified into effector cells. These effector cells take care of the removal or degradation or neutralization of the antigens. Finally we will get immune response and we will escape from the various diseases. So this is all about the secondary lymphoid organs. Thank you.